Well, that about sums up my week coming up. It's just been complete shit. Well, I'm back in the box, and it's already like a shit show. Like, first of all, this is day 2, and I have 600 miles to run today, and it's like 10:30 a.m. right now, and I've gotten 1 hour of that done, and then the tire blows. Not only that, the tire blew, and then the gator hit the car that was following me too close behind me. So she pulled in, and we actually, like, I saw her taking pictures and whatnot. I didn't even know that had happened. We just coincidentally pulled off into the same area to because I didn't want to leave the truck on the highway to get the tire changed. And the accident people were here and all of that. But they said there was no damage. She said there was no damage. Everything's fine. So she snapped a picture of me and, the truck, and took off and went on about her life. So no accident there, thankfully. But I've got about 3 hours to wait for repairs. So I'm sitting here with no facilities, no nothing. Yesterday, thanks to not having a pickup number for the load that I was assigned, it caused me to be an hour late, even though I was half hour early for the appointment time, an hour late for the appointment time. So the customer let me sit there for 5 hours to get unloaded or to get loaded, and I got loaded last night and drove for a little while, like an hour and a half or so. Thankfully, I got some of that mileage shaved off, and then lo and behold, yeah, I didn't make any money. We'll just put it that way. I did 150 miles yesterday. I could have easily gone in the gig economy and made that and been snug in my bed and enjoying life. So, I'm getting, I know I got to be patient, that there are times, after 22 years driving a truck, and it is 22 years now, I got to be a little more, I guess, patient, but I don't know, just with the way everything is in the world and the bullshit and the way everything's seems, I'm just like, why am I doing this? Why am I still subjecting myself to the box? So I'm trying, as many of you know, I'm trying to semi-retire, and yet I'm losing even the patience to do this because I'm out for a month right now. Well, 3 weeks, 5 days on this particular outing, and then I take another 3 to 4 weeks off. A lot of people would consider that a sweet deal. But it's only half control of my time. Yeah, I control how long I stay out, but in order to cover my bills, obviously it has to be at least 3 weeks each time. That way I cover all my debts and my car payment and all that other shit. So I am kind of debt slaved into being to work in a specific amount of time during my retirement. But it feels like the world is just telling me to get the fuck out of the truck right now, because this is, they've had me stack 2 loads right now over 1,000, well, 1,200 miles total over the next 2 days. They're shitloads. They're live loads, probably sitting 3, 4 hours at a time each place. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that, but at least there's miles to be had. Um, but just stuff like this just setting me back. So today it's gonna eat my time sitting here waiting for repairs, and then that's 2 to 3 hours before they get here, and then there's probably another hour and a half of actual time doing the repairs. And I just want to know why the fuck I'm doing it. The economy is supposedly collapsing, and it does look a little bit more bleak than when I left, when I was in Canada. Because when I was in Canada, I was in a bubble. I was in this little itty bitty town in Canada that speaks French. Passing the time, playing some games, hanging out with my girlfriend. I'm now 50, and yeah, I'm still driving this truck. 50 years old. Didn't die. Not everybody I know can say that, huh? But yeah, here I am. Maybe this is my, I'm a little black pilled today. Just this, so sorry for the bitching, but I'm trying to find motivation to keep doing this. You know, I'm heading to Kentucky. I already called and told them the other load might be a no go because they want me to run that pretty much one day because it delivers early in the morning, and I'm you know, probably not gonna. I don't even know if I'll be able to deliver this load on time. I might have to send them a late status because if I burn 2, 3, 4 hours sitting here, that means the load might not get there before midnight, and the load's supposed to be there before midnight. So, yeah, I'm fucked. Tired of being fucked too. I'm tired of all the bullshit. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be parked where I'm parked right now. I feel like the Thruway Authority might get a little creepy with me. Like I said, I was in the bubble. I turned 50, celebrated it with my girlfriend. That was pretty much it. Other than my girlfriend and my mother, nobody gave a shit that I turned 50. The world doesn't care. To be honest, I wasn't feeling particularly celebratory for my 50th birthday anyway. But here I am, 50 years old, sitting on the side of the fucking road with a blown tire going, why did I choose this career? Nothing I can do about it now. I'm at that age where, starting to get to that age where you can't really switch, or, companies might not hire somebody because of their age. They're looking for the young immigrants to drive trucks nowadays. They're not looking for me. So, as far as my assessment of how the economy is doing in the USA, I'd say it does feel a little bit down right now. The kinds of loads I'm getting are just the loads that you get during recessions, which is groceries, paper, recycle, that kind of stuff. Um, I'm not hauling merchandise. I'm not hauling things. Sorry, my girlfriend called me. Where was I? Oh yeah, everything sucks. So, seeing how things are going, it's hard to keep doing this, at age 50. Seeing that the economy's tanking, like my Bitcoin portfolio is completely in the red. So my money's locked up. I'm not going to sell at the bottom. So if it doesn't go back up, then I'm fucked. And the reason why I'm concerned about it not going back up, now everyone's going to say this always happens. But the reason I'm concerned is my feed while I was in Canada was starting to feed me stuff about how Japan is going. If you look at what happened in Japan, they're saying that that's our future. That's what's going to happen here. And a bunch of bad things have happened in Japan. First of all, they're not at replacement level. They're like, as far as population, as in they're not having babies. Their average age is climbing. They're having an elderly population with less young people to support that. So economically, that's collapsing. Um, their stock market. They used to be, when I was a kid, Japan was like, everybody was worried that their economy was better than ours, and for a time it was. But then their stock market pretty much crashed and collapsed and never came back. They never bounced and went up and to the right like everyone's expecting our shit to do. And so when I'm seeing that, I'm like, what if that is our future? And I'm looking at my Bitcoin portfolio and I'm like, yeah, what if it doesn't come back? Now, I know this is what makes you sell at the bottom usually, so I'm not falling for it, but it's not a comfortable thought that we might be heading towards following in Japan's footsteps economically. Now, we've done a few things different, obviously. Japan does not allow immigration. They keep a very tight lid on replacing their population with immigrants. Whereas here, we just open the borders. And we're not quite as low as they are. In fact, there are some parts of the country that are above replacement. Can you guess whether they're right leaning or left leaning? The areas that are above the states that are above replacement. Can you guess? uh, but yeah, that being said, there are some states that in the United States that are above the 2.1 population replacement. So, there is going to be a change in the future after I'm dead and gone, but that the youth will have to worry about. So I'm thinking that I won't in my lifetime see what Japan is currently seeing because they've been far below replacement since the 80s. So they are now seeing the result of that their population is already, I think, dropped by 25% and is projected by 2050 to be like over 50% or something like that. I don't know. You can look all this shit up. But my point is if that is our future, and we are indeed also below replacement, as in our population is going to shrink, economically, that means that we're not going to grow anymore. Our GDP is going to stagnate, and then when you throw in inflation and the debt on top of that, these are all things that happened to Japan. And here we are doing the same shit that Japan did that landed them economically into a disaster. So, and I see no signs from the government, left or right, of addressing or fixing this. It's all like, let's print more money. Let's raise, this whole government shutdown bullshit was so that they could raise their fucking credit card limit. We're already over our limit, people. We're not producing anywhere near what we need to produce to pay down the debt. And I see no signs at all in this economy as a truck driver that we're even starting to move in the right direction. I'll let you know if I see some positive shit out here, but I can tell you, the loads I'm getting are very 2008. These are places that never shut down because people need to eat. People need to, and people are eating still, thankfully. And people still generate trash and still, all of these kinds of things, recycling and all of that. Those industries aren't going anywhere. But I do feel like people are going to stop discretionary spending, buying shit as their credit cards get maxed out and they can't even afford the minimum payments anymore. And they start ignoring those, and then the defaults come in, and then the entire stock market crashes 50 points. That's I think that's near future. If you look at what's going on in crypto tends to be a little bit ahead of the game as far as the S&P 500 goes. But there's still a bunch of optimism out there that, hey, the S&P always grows. All the throughout history, it's been up and to the right. Well, that's what Japan thought about their market back in the 80s. And then the 90s, it all came crashing down on them and has not to this day returned and has not gone up to the right. So if they bought at the peak right before the crash, which is pretty much where I'm at in Bitcoin, by the way, I'm still dollar cost averaging in as it comes crashing down, but that's still a gamble. What if it doesn't come back up and I'm buying as it goes down, thinking I'm getting a deal and buying the dip? Well, it's buying the dip only works if it's a dip. And if we're following in Japan's footsteps, it makes me wonder, and why is the algorithm showing me this all of a sudden? Keep in mind, you're fed this shit intentionally. AI has fully analyzed you. It knows you better than you know yourself, probably. And it's fed me this shit. It's listening to me right now, even though my the screen's off and all of that. I guarantee you they're fucking listening. And I'll see more shit in my feed related to what I'm saying. Plus, it's obviously scrubbing this video when I post it and analyzing that. I'm just trying to keep my head above water, and trucking is not making it easy right now. So I'm hoping for some better days. At least I am kind of going a little bit south. And they're not bouncing me around New York and Pennsylvania and Jersey and all of that shit. Probably because they don't want me to just drive home again. But I don't know. What do you think? What is your analysis in the comments below? Just, tell me. I've been out of the country for a little bit. 3 weeks is kind of a long time to be disconnected from everything as far as physically. And to be honest, I wasn't keeping up with a lot of the news. I still caught, I'd go take a shit and I'd catch a video here and there of people bitching about how broke they are and inflation and all of that kind of stuff. And of course the absurd political bullshit, which I'm not even really interested in anymore. Yet, I get people in here that get butthurt if I say something bad about Trump. Oh, would you rather have gotten Kamala? No, I don't want either one of the motherfuckers. You understand that, right? If I have to pick between Kamala and Trump, I'm obviously going to pick Trump in that scenario. But it's either way, I'm getting bent over. All right. And it ain't good. If I work my 70 hours this week, 25 to 30 of it's going to taxes. How is that good for me? How does that make me want to work harder? All you socialists that might be out there, with Trump derangement syndrome, explain to me how it incentivizes me to work if I'm doing all this work to pay for people who aren't working. And that there's 40 something million of people who aren't working right now. Do you think I'm going to go full time in that scenario? Hell no. No. I'm going to work just enough to pay my bills and survive. I'm not going to come out here and go above and beyond if they're taking all the money I earn and giving it away to other people or taking it for the government's stupid spending plans or whatever bullshit that they're trying to fucking, that I don't agree with 90% of the way the government spends the money that they steal from me. I don't agree with it. So I'm done playing the political game, I'm going to call out Trump when he fucks up, and he's fucked up. And I'm going to come up, call out the Democrats, and just let's just face it, everything about the Democrats drives me insane. It's the opposite of freedom. They want communism, clearly. And I don't want either one of them. I'm a libertarian. I don't want either. I want less government and leave me the fuck alone. Those are the things I want. And nobody's doing that. Nobody. The right isn't doing it. The left isn't doing it. They're they're spending like drunken sailors. I'm hearing about they're gonna might do a $2,000 stimulus check or a dividend from tariffs, and I'm like, all that says to me is I'm gonna pay $25 for a cheeseburger at McDonald's. That's what it tells me that's gonna happen. And once again, we're getting to that point where we're in the wrong direction economically. Um, Culturally, I don't even know because you can't even tell where the culture is right now. There's too much division and fighting and anger on each side, and I'm tired of all of it. I'm getting old. I don't fucking care anymore. I don't have a stake in the future of this country anymore. I did my time and look at where we are. It's not my job to worry about the future anymore. It's my job to survive where we're at. That's my job, before I move on from this world. The young folks should be caring about what's going on, and they should be figuring out their shit, and they're not. They're too busy on TikTok filming shit. And that's it. That's all they do. And then they go to work and bitch that they're broke, that they can't afford to live. Well, it's not my job to fix that. I'm just doing what I can to survive. I can tell you from my experience, no matter who is in office, it continued in this downward trend throughout my lifetime. Our debt continued to grow, our society continued to decline. I seem to remember it being much better. Now, granted, nostalgia does paint things through a lens of optimism, I guess, but the 90s were better than now. The economy was great as far as I could tell. Even during the dot-com crash, I didn't even notice that shit. I was not investing like I should. But culturally, there were places to go, things to do. You actually wanted to go to the movies. Now they don't make any movies that are worth fucking going to pay $30 or whatever the fuck it is now to go see. And the streaming services all suck. I get free Netflix now, it turns out, with my phone plan, and I was looking through there to see if anything was worth a shit, and other than some old shit that I used to watch in the late 90s, early 2000s time frame, everything is sucked on there. Everything's got politics in it. There's no escapism anymore. Any good shows or movies have been ruined, because the people writing them they want to inject their own narcissism in it and their own political system and beliefs, and they want to virtue signal and do all this other shit instead of actually just telling a good story. So nobody goes to the movies anymore because A, it's too expensive, and B, there's nothing that you put a good fucking movie in there, some people will go out and pay fucking $30 to go see it, but you're not doing that. And so that's gone downhill. Music has been overrun because of the streaming situation. I'm not exposed to a lot of new music now, and the music I am exposed to is likely AI generated. In the same time, as a content creator, how do you stand out in the slop? Because a lot of the videos that I click on now, I can spot it now because did entrench myself in learning AI. And I do believe it's a decent tool if used properly, but it's not being used properly. It's being used by lazy people to try and make money without doing anything. And a lot of times I'll be researching or looking or doing a search on a video, and the first 5 videos I come across are AI shit. Written by ChatGPT. You can tell by the way it's spoken, by the things that are being said. There's no personality in the narration or anything like that. and it's just really poor AI slop, low effort bullshit. And I click off almost immediately. Like after about a minute of AI shit, I'm like, nope. But yeah, it's all. I feel like it's all gone downhill. And do you see that? Am I just fucking crazy? Am I just having a bad fucking day and I'm on here to complain about everything? Probably. That's probably what's going on right now. I'm trying to spot the light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, I have my girlfriend, and but that's about it. That's all I got going for me. My social life is gone, you know, pretty much. Being away from Syracuse as much as I have, it's not like I could go out and work on it. Most people are busy with their own lives. The few friends I have left that haven't died. I've completely abandoned singers, by the way, in case you're curious. That's no longer a part of my life. I've moved on. I've graduated from middle school, all right? And now I'm in high school. So, I'm not doing that anymore. So a lot of the people that were in that part of my life, that social circle of my life, are no longer a part of my life. And it's their choice mostly. Um, but so pretty much my semi-retirement's looking a little bleak. So on days like today when I'm just struggling to determine why I'm even fucking doing this anymore, it's it's hard to keep going. It's hard to see the positive goal, you know. See, I've been fired up about being debt free and doing all these things and having ambition, and that ambition's slowly draining away. I feel like now I'm just passing time until nature decides to take me out, or until some asshole, who doesn't know how to drive a truck decides to take me out. I've encountered a few of those. I'm also noticing that since the immigrants have been knocked out of trucking, that there are a hell of a lot more rental trucks on the road driving just as badly as the big rigs were, if not worse in some cases. I'm definitely seeing an increase in rental trucks running around out here. Doesn't make me feel any safer than when they were driving big rigs, but you know, I don't know. I just know that I've at least cut my you'll appreciate this since we've been all statistical and shit. Because I now only work half the year in a truck, statistically speaking, I should have increased my life expectancy because the average age of a truck driver, the average mortality is 62 years old. So I should see a 50% increase in my life expectancy just by sorry, dude, doing a U-turn. Um, just by being a part-time trucker as opposed to a full-time trucker. But what's it all for, you know? So what do you think? You think I'm just black-pilled today because of all the shit going on and work not going proper? Do you think the stock market and the crypto is going to bounce and go back up to all-time highs? Instead I'm down like 45% for the year right now. It's great. It's unrealized. Could bounce back, right? And I did some trades on the way down that actually allowed me to accumulate some more crypto, but balance-wise, it doesn't change my dollar amount, which is fine. It means I'm not going to get taxed on it. Because turns out you can accumulate crypto, and that's fine. That's not a taxable event. It's when you accumulate U.S. dollars that they want to tax you. So you can keep trading your way down as long as you're selling at a loss, then you don't generate tax. At least that's the way I'm understanding it. But at some point, if it does go back up, then they'll probably get 25% of whatever I make, which makes me wonder, is that even worth it? Am I just making money for the government with my crypto? Because I don't think I'm going to make 25% profit. So between inflation and what the government's going to take in taxes, if I realize some capital gains, and of course it'll be taxed as income if it's less than a year instead of capital gains tax. Yeah, I think I'm just making money for the government being in crypto. I'm not going to see the profit unless it's like a 75% or 100% increase, in which case I'll see profit there. So I apologize for this video being all over the place. Like, I'm emotionally and mentally drained right now from everything going on with the job. Financially speaking, assuming I can crank out some miles this week, semi-retirement is sustainable so far. As long as I don't spend a lot of money during my downtime. So, which I really didn't. I bought food and played video games for entertainment. And that was about it. Didn't drive around much. Stayed home a lot. By home, I mean my girlfriend's house. She seemed okay with that, so that's all I did on my downtime, my 3 weeks off. That's probably all I'm going to do the next time I'm off. I do have to get my van in for an oil change, though, so that's coming. But if I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing now and sitting in this truck, that's the thing. If this truck isn't profitable, I might have to strike out into the gig economy and try and make my way there. Which, had I done that, by the way, I would have made more money yesterday and today than I'm actually making because of this blown tire and me having to sit here for hours on end. So, but what the fuck do I know? I'm not an expert. I'm just an asshole. Please like and subscribe for more shit, and maybe I'll make more shit. At least by being broke down, I have more time to make videos. Sorry for the downer video, but wouldn't be a authentic channel if I didn't share everything, right? Like, I really hope things turn around and I can generate some optimism again or some ambition. Right now, my optimism and ambition's a little on the low side. Maybe it'll be better after winter's over. To be honest, up in Canada, there's not a lot of sunshine in the winter. So maybe that's a contributing factor to me being down right now. But I know a lot of you are going to spout off solutions. Just get a job and stay in the local area and do all of that and don't do trucking anymore, you know? There's no good things happening in the trucking industry. You know, and I agree. Like a lot of the issues I've had, in fact, I can tell you the last couple days of trucking here were almost entirely because corporations are cutting corners. They're cutting back on things. So like the first day, like I came back, I spent 4 hours trying to find an empty trailer because the company I work for, you remember when I was running empty trailers across the country and taking 500-mile bobtail runs out of and to pick up trailers in New York and bring them to Ohio? Well, turns out there's no trailers in New York. Imagine that. Who's the genius that come up with these fucking plans? You know, all of that trailers I hauled cost me a whole day. No pay for it. None. 4 hours work trying to get a trailer. Made maybe $5 because they would pay me 1 mile for each little area I went because it's zip code to zip code. You know, the other scam that gets run. And then, of course, getting to the customer, the first 2 hours are unpaid for detention. I should get detention for the other additional 4 hours I spent at the customer. And then only being able to knock out 100 miles before I was just too tired because I got up at 4 in the morning to start my day in trucking because I had to get moved into this truck. Which, if you stuck with this video long enough, I'll show you around what they've put me in. You know, but it's all bullshit, you know. And then the fact that I didn't have the right pickup number, that's because they don't have enough office people. They've cut all of that down. They're trying to replace them with AI. But in the meantime, I ask a question and I get crickets chirping for over an hour. And it wasn't until I threatened to leave the customer and go park somewhere for the night and then have them reschedule. That's when they gave me the response and the proper number. So I lit a fire to get the proper pickup number. But this is all because they're downsized their office people, like, and there's this trailer, this blown tire. I guarantee it's they put a shitty recap on a shitty tire, and then we put 40,000 pounds in the box and wonder why the tire blows. You know, and that's dangerous when they blow. They don't. There's not. This is an explosion that happens, and it was enough to bend like the metal. And as you saw in the clip in the beginning, it bent the mud flap, it bent the bracket that holds it, and that's solid metal that got bent because of the explosion. Thankfully, nothing else got damaged. You know, and it's all because some bean counter decided that they wanted to cut some more money out of the budget. You know, and even then, they give us spares, and I'm looking at the spare, and I'm like, that's a shitty tire. And when I'm on the phone, I'm like, you might want to have them bring a tire because the spare doesn't look like it's the right size, and it doesn't match anything on the trailer. But they insist that that's what they're going to do, so they're going to put the spare tire that I carry with me onto the trailer, and then I got to do 600 miles and hope it doesn't blow again. All because we're saving money so that we can increase stock prices. And I feel like that's the way everything is now. Everybody's just trying to get paid, and they'll do anything to get paid, including rip people off, you know, cut corners, use AI, hire people overseas to do work, you know, and I don't see how that turns around into us going up and to the right as far as the stock market goes. That's a bubble that's going to pop badly, I feel like. And it might have already started. We might already be in it if, you know, crypto, which I'm pretty sure crypto is now officially bear market. Well, it's gotta show two bottoms to be officially declared a bear market. But I'm pretty sure this is the beginning of the bear market. Now that I said that, maybe it'll skyrocket to new all-time highs tomorrow. Wouldn't that be nice? But I don't know. I think we're walking down the wrong path. I feel like our economy is not moving in the right direction, and I see nothing politically to indicate it. Now, inevitably, somebody's going to call on Trump the Lord and Savior is going to fix it because, you know, he shits lightning bolts and shoots rainbows out of his ass, you know. But that's not what I'm seeing, is it? Prices continue to rise, don't they? Things just continue to get worse economically. And we just raised the debt ceiling, so we're spending more money. What happened to the government efficiency? Where'd that go? You know, I feel like they cut a bunch of people, a bunch of jobs out, but they didn't lower my taxes. You know, I'm just saying they're still taking a pretty huge chunk out of me. Enough to where I don't, I'm not incentivized to put in a 70-hour week. You know, I feel like 40, 50, 40 hours is pretty much the sweet spot. If you work more than 40 hours in a truck, you're working for the government for 2 or 3 days a week. That's why I say no matter how hard I work, I still get a similar paycheck cleared at the end of the week. So why would I work harder? Where's my incentive? So, I'm sorry if I offend your political beliefs, which I pretty much offend Democrats because I don't like Democrats. And now I offend Trump supporters because I'm not sitting there, cheering, going, oh, he's saving us. Everything's fixed. No, nobody gives a shit. All right. As I said in previous videos, there's nobody looking out for us, the little guy. We're just pawns on the board. We're votes, and that's it. And we're not viewed as people. We're not viewed, nobody gives a shit that I'm sitting here all day not making money, but yet having to be here working. Like, this is waiting for, I can't just do whatever I want right now. I'm waiting for the repair for the next 3-4 hours. And then I'm expected to go and make the money and do the full day's work. My average hourly, if I calculate in the time I'm waiting for repairs, is pretty low. Like $8 an hour, maybe $7 an hour. Yeah, I'm pretty sure DoorDash even pays more than that right now. And I heard there's a job opening in DoorDash because somebody got arrested for filming somebody in their house. That happened in Oswego, which is near where I live. Oh, all right. That's enough bitching for one day. Sorry if this was a downer, but that's how I'm feeling today. This is what's going on. Just giving you an update, really. I'm not giving up. The question on everyone's mind should be, will he last the whole month? Or will he hang it up and go and strike out into the gig economy, which is probably just as bad shit show wise, economy wise. But I'm pretty sure I could make at least $100 a day in the gig economy. It's just a question of how many hours that takes. And that pretty much would be all I need is $100 a day. And I could still do the 3 weeks working gig economy and then 3 weeks of retirement. So we'll see. Right now, this month is kind of the trial. Can I do better on my own versus being in this truck? And no, I don't want to go back to full time. A lot of people are like, just get a local job. No, the whole point of semi-retirement is having full control of your time. And I got about 80% control of my time. I'm here right now because this is the time I've chosen to work, to make money and pay my bills. If I were to get a full-time job, I would be on some corporate douchebag's fucking schedule. And they would dictate 100% my productivity, how much money I make, when I can take time off, when I can't. I have control of when I can take my time off right now. Even right now. Like, I could be like, well, I want to be home next Friday instead of staying out a full month. I'm in that position being a casual driver. And not a lot of places offer that, which is why I'm putting up with a lot of bullshit. But it's the only reason I'm putting up with the bullshit. Because as you recall, I was ready to quit. Like, I straight up drove home, cleaned the truck out. I was like, oh, we'll see what happens. And now here I am, still doing it. But the fuck do I know? I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong. I don't see a lot of pathways to having a good life right now in the United States anyway. So I just got to try and appreciate what I got, There's a whole movement that happened in Japan subsequently, since I brought them up, to where people are just not buying shit. They're I forget what they call it. But basically they don't buy anything. They don't spend money. They save their money and they pay their necessities, obviously, but they don't go out and spend money in the regular economy. They don't go buy stuff, buy items. They don't, just toys or electronics or all that kind of shit. They don't do that. They don't go out. They don't do any of that. Now, if we all did that, guess what would happen? The economy would completely fucking collapse and everybody be out of a job and everybody be whining. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. If you look what's happening in New York City, since they put Mandami in, all the rich people are fleeing. All the employers, the people that spend money, they're leaving. Leaving all the people that depend on social programs and handouts, wondering who's going to pay them. And the Governor Hochul knows this, and that's why she broke ranks with Mandami. Is like, no, I'm not doing that. Because she knows that she would chase all the wealthy companies out of New York. And then they would just pick up and leave and take all your jobs with them. And then they'd have to raise taxes on whoever stayed just to pay for all the social programs and all the spending shit that, and it's on the wall. The writing's on the wall for New York City. I don't see how they come back from this. Basically the way that y'all voted was in New York City was you voted for the most socialist fucking communist fucker that you could put in there. And then you wonder why all the people that actually do the productivity are like, it can't be here. They're talking about moving Wall Street. They're talking about all of the shit that there's going to be a new Wall Street in Texas or something like that. That's how bad it is. But sometimes we got to learn the hard way, I guess. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out as I reach my end of my life. Which, who knows how long that is now, that I've at least shrank my time in the truck. It might be 50 with the way people are fucking driving here. Well, that's my closing thoughts. Have a nice motherfucking day and shit. And I don't know when I'm getting this video out, but I'll try and keep you posted. I'll try and do some shorts to keep you. Maybe I'll have a life is good day instead of a everything is shit day. Because everything's fucking shit. It's shit. So they got me in a Volvo. My least favorite truck, by the way. But this is my setup. I, of course, duct tape my magnet for my phone holder because I get tired of paying $20 every time I need a new magnet mount for a new truck. And since I now switch trucks a lot, there's that. Of course, bring this as a place to rest my feet if I'm sitting at night and I don't want to lay in bed. I've got the shitter / trash can and an abundance of water, of course. And a bunch of shit piled in the seat as usual. Of course, my top bunk is used for storage. I've brought my Jackery because usually when I'm slip seating and doing casual driving, I'm not confident in the truck's ability to support me power-wise. So this allows me to make my coffee and whatnot. But as you can see, because it's a fucking Volvo, I don't really have a place to put a microwave easily. So I didn't bring the microwave, and so I'm out here right now waiting with no way to cook anything. I do have some cold cuts though, so I won't die. Plus I'm fat. But yeah, there's the bunk. The bunk heater doesn't seem to work. Like, I tried turning it on and all of that, but this truck does have a smart idle system, so I just sent the temperature there. Truck starts up, heats, and like I have the heat cranked, and that raises the temperature to whatever I set that at, and also watches the battery and all that other shit. So that's the one good thing I do like, is their opt-idle system is a lot better than the Kenworth's was. And there's a fridge. It's a pain in the ass to open because they gave me a mattress. You know, on top I got my own mattress, but the mattress that they gave me doesn't fit the truck, so now I have to struggle to open the fridge. So, but yeah, that's the truck. Plus, not a lot of headroom when it comes to this bunk. You know, it's another difference. They don't build Volvos for comfort, so they build them for efficiency. The only good thing about the Volvo I like is when you're driving it, it feels more like a car, sounds more like they're hardcore about soundproofing and all of that kind of stuff, so there's not a lot of road noise. And overall, it doesn't beat the shit out of you quite like a Freightliner or a Kenworth would. So, yeah. Did you spot the piss bottle in this video?